Good morning. I am joining you from the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the territory of the First Nation, of the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations. I'm Sheila Malcolmson, British Columbia's Minister for Mental Health and Addictions. Before anything, I want to speak to the tragic loss of a 12-year-old girl here in Victoria, Ali Thomas. She died of suspected overdose last week. We are thinking of her family and friends and those who worked hard to get her the support that she needed and deserved. It's a tragic loss. I can only imagine that her family and friends are in shock. It's unspeakable that a person so young with so much ahead of them is taken in this way. We are mourning across British Columbia this very hard past year, the loss of over 1,700 people to the overdose crisis. And that someone so young is in our hearts today is something that informs our work every day. Every life, every person matters. Our government is committed to doing more to build up the supports that mean that family and youth and anybody in mental health or addictions crisis gets the help that they need when they need it and where they need it. We have a lot more lives to save, and today we are noting that loss and extending again our condolences to the family and friends of Ali Thomas. This young girl and so many others that we have lost in British Columbia will continue to inform our work as a government and drive us forward to do more and to do better. Today is an announcement of just one of the many commitments that we are making to connect youth to social services and those vital life-saving services that they need. And I'm glad to be here alongside my friend and colleague, Mitzi Dean, the Minister for Children and Families, and also the Executive Director of Foundry, Dr. Steve Matthias. We're also grateful to welcome, and we will hear from in a couple of minutes, Sydney Spence, a valued youth peer advisor, and Christine Harris, a family peer supporter with Foundry BC. It means a lot to be here with this range of people, both in person and virtual, for this announcement today. We're also recognizing Mental Health Week and Child and Youth Mental Health Day. It's a day to reaffirm our commitment and our recognition of our responsibility to serve children and youth. It's a day of awareness and recognition of the work ahead of us, and a day for us to reinforce to young people that we care about their feelings, their well-being, and about their potential. A top priority in our work is to improve wellness for children, youth, and young adults. We want every child to have their best possible start, and we want them to get help as soon as they need it. And we will not stop until we transform the system of care in British Columbia for young people. We are bringing services to meet youth and their families in schools, in communities, in their homes. And just last week, I was here with Minister Dean and Minister Jennifer Whiteside, Minister of Education, to announce a historic investment coming out of Budget 2021 to expand vital services for children and youth across British Columbia to 15 more communities. This is an investment that will add more capacity on the ground where it's needed most and will ensure that when children and families need help, they don't knock on one door after another, losing critical time in a time of critical need. But we know that more work is needed. And as we create that comprehensive system of mental health and substance use care that people in British Columbia need and deserve, we have been working around the clock to build that system, and we're moving forward at full steam with more investments and more supports. And this today is an opportunity to announce another milestone in that work. During this challenging time, greater support is coming to youth and families in every community in British Columbia. Bringing technology and mental health and substance use supports together, today on Child and Youth Mental Health Day, we are launching the Foundry BC app. From now on, every British Columbian aged 12 to 24 and their caregivers can all access the healthcare, mental health, and substance use services support that they need and deserve. Through this mobile device, computer or phone from exceptional Foundry staff, they are welcoming and supportive and non-judgmental. This is a big win for families and youth who have had no access to these services close to home. And I know that an enormous amount of work has gone into developing this app and bringing us to this moment. It really is a monumental step. There are so many people who have played a vital role in making that Foundry BC app come together today, and all the virtual services that are available through our province. All the Foundry services were designed by and for youth and with youth in mind, making sure that the voices of young people in BC guided the process of this app's development from start to finish. And 3 of those inspiring people are here today to share the announcement. I'm grateful for how our Foundry family has stepped up during the COVID-19 pandemic and how it has exacerbated the mental health and substance use challenges that BC faces. It's been an absolutely critical partner, starting up virtual mental health supports for youth just weeks after the pandemic was declared more than a year ago. And today is a testament to Foundry's hard work, its dedication and drive to help young people and communities throughout British Columbia. So this spring, Foundry Youth showed me how to download the app and showed me how to use it. They set up an appointment with me, a counseling appointment, and then we flipped into that platform so I could see what it felt like face-to-face to be talking with a trusted counselor. I was really impressed with the layout of the Foundry app, how welcoming it was, very much like walking into a physical Foundry center. And it was really quick and really easy to navigate. So I look forward to hearing the stories this morning of the many youth that will be helped, have been helped already, that have been using the app, and we look forward with hope to the many youth that will be served across British Columbia on this new delivery platform. And I am now going to welcome my colleague, Minister Mitzi Dean, to say a few words.
Thank you, Minister. Hello, everyone. I'm pleased to be here in person with my colleague, Minister Malcolmson, on the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people now known as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. Virtually as well, we're here with Steve Matthias, Sydney Spence, and Christine Harris to celebrate the launch of Foundry BC app. Thank you for joining us. As my colleague just said, the pandemic has affected youth in unprecedented ways. In all of my experience in family services, we're now seeing the most toxic drug environment with an unimaginable number of tragedies. It's been crucial for services to adapt so that youth and families can get the help that they need. Though we see their resiliency each and every day, it's never been more important to make sure that young people have access to services when, where, and how they need them. My colleague has outlined a number of the steps that our government has already taken to improve mental health services for young people across our province. And this app that we're launching today will give youth, especially those living in rural and remote areas of our province, the chance to seek and receive help and services on demand. From mental health care, substance use services, primary and sexual health care, youth and family, peer support, and social services, the Foundry offers streamlined and coordinated options for youth and families to get the help and support they need when they ask for it. With in-person services being limited these days, BC's youth and families need flexible options and choices. And this app was made for youth by youth, so it gives them the opportunity to connect with peers for their own support. And it provides the ability to build safe relationships with like-minded individuals that they're comfortable with, making it easier for young people to get the help they need when they need it. This is a really important tool that is going to help youth overcome challenges and get back on the road to wellness. So I say thank you to Foundry BC and to your community partners and to our cross-ministry partners as well for making key supports available to more young people in their time of need. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Dean. I now welcome Steve Matthias, Executive Director of Foundry, to speak about the work that it took to get us to this announcement today. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, both Ministers Malcolmson and Dean, for that lovely introduction. I do want to acknowledge that I'm here today on the unceded ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people, more specifically Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam First Nations. I also want to acknowledge the importance of this day, which is the Child and Youth International Mental Health Day. And it's a day that I think for many of us causes us to take a moment to just reflect on what that means and the importance of supporting and destigmatizing help seeking during a time of need, moments when young people are struggling to access mental health services. We know as many as 1 in 5 young people in any given year, particularly the teenagers and young adults, will have their struggles, and that has been made and really amplified, but made worse by this pandemic. In many ways, I think it's our young people who have sacrificed the most during this time. They may not be attending school at all at this moment. They have lost employment opportunities. They've certainly lost their freedoms and the ability to travel, ability to see friends. And many of the coping strategies that we've encouraged young people to use during non-pandemic times have been greatly limited, if not eliminated, during the lockdowns that we have seen for young people around not only Canada, but internationally. And so we've been left in many ways to quickly find opportunities to have young people stay connected and to access those services that they would normally access in person, to access those virtually. I have to admit that the app that we're launching today was 5 years in the making. And it was 5 years in the making because we recognized quite a long time ago that we needed to transform the way young people accessed health and social services. This work has been led by an incredibly dedicated group of young people who have worked with a small but mighty organization called Freshworks Studios to design the app that you see today. We've had well over 1,500 young people using our virtual services in this past year. Close to 1,000 have used the app during a soft launch period. And I think that they have found it useful and easy to use and navigate our services. And we're really excited about what the future holds for not only the current state of the app, but all of the additions that we anticipate making in the coming months and years. So I just want to thank again the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Children and Families, also the Ministry of Education for their vision and strategy around youth mental health in this province. We understand that there is a lot of work ahead of us, particularly given the epidemic that we continue to struggle with, the fentanyl crisis, as well as the pandemic. And as we start to come out of the pandemic, we look forward to supporting young people to re-engage in so many of the activities that they look forward to, and really making that transition alongside them, using a team of dedicated counselors and peer support workers to be there for them when they need them. And so I encourage young people and their family members to download the app today and to check out the services that we offer, in the hopes that we are able to help young people in the upcoming weeks as they reimagine life coming out of the pandemic and really address any needs that they may have, whether it's mental health or substance use or physical health needs, and access our services through the app or through our 11 centers around the province. Thank you, Minister Malcolmson. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Steve. We're now going to turn to Sydney Spence, who's Foundry's youth advisor, to share what the application means to her.
Thank you so much, Minister. I have a lot of lived experience with mental health that's made me very passionate about helping others, particularly youth, who are overcoming some of the same obstacles that I have. So when I heard what Foundry was planning, I jumped at the chance to use my experience for something positive. And now that we're here, this really has felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. My favorite part of this process, besides working with the amazing team at Foundry and the other youth committee members, has been seeing some of my ideas come to life. When we got to look at the first draft of the app, it was so exhilarating to see some of my input taking shape right in front of my eyes. This project is doubly important to me, however, because of my job. I'm a dance instructor in a small community called Powell River, and I work with some of the most amazing kids. There are some amazing, amazing kids here in this town. And over the last 6 years that I've worked at the studio, I have made some awesome connections with them. And our world today is full of so much fear and anxiety, more so than ever before. And I am seeing how greatly it is impacting the youth of our province. And so this app is going to give them the easy and accessible access that they need. And it is a need and a help that they deserve. And so I am so proud and so honored to have played even a small part in helping them get it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sydney. And thank you for bringing what you've learned in to help others. And this is a key part of Foundry's work and the design of this app. We're also joined today by Christine Harris, who's a family peer supporter with Foundry BC, and she'll tell us about the services that this app offers to youth and to caregivers. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you, Honourable Minister Malcolmson. Some years ago, I was looking for help and I was looking for supports. My son was a teenager struggling with substance use issues. I often felt alone, scared, and sometimes judged. Well-meaning friends and family tried to support me, but they couldn't because they couldn't understand what I was going through. How I wish I could have accessed a service like Foundry then and the Foundry app. At that time, there was just no services like that out there. So let's fast forward to today. Today, I am a family peer support worker with Foundry, British Columbia Virtual. And I am so honored to be in this position. Caregivers, I am here to stand with you, to listen to you without judgment. I am here as your peer. I've been in similar situations. I'm here to help caregivers access services through Foundry and services throughout British Columbia. I want you to know you're not alone, that myself and my colleagues here at the Foundry, we're here for you. We're here to stand with you, to listen and to support you in your times of struggles with your loved one. Please reach out to us at Foundry through the app. We're here for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for bringing your experience forward to influence this new tool and this new design to help others. Before we take questions, we're going to take a minute just to have a look at what the Foundry app looks like and what kind of services it provides.
Hi, I'm Sierra, a peer support worker here at Foundry. In this video, I'll be walking you through how to download the Foundry BC app, create an account, and access our services. The Foundry BC app can be downloaded from the Apple app and Google Play stores. Just search for Foundry BC. For those without a smartphone, these services can also be accessed through our desktop web portal. Just visit foundrybc.ca/virtual to connect. And if internet access is a barrier, we're able to provide support by phone at 1-833-308-6379. Once you've downloaded the app, you'll be asked to log into an existing account or to create a new one. When you create an account, you will unlock access to all of our services and additional app features. If you are a young person ages 12 to 24 or a caregiver living in BC, you are invited to create an account and get started. Once you've created your account, you'll be asked to complete a survey. This survey helps the Foundry team get to know you a little bit better. The My Story feature allows you to share your journey with the Foundry team. If you pin and share your story, service providers can view it prior to your appointment. The Connect feature supports you to access our virtual services. Here, you can schedule counseling and peer support appointments in advance, access same-day services, sign up for a group, and view your schedule. The services available through the app are separate from local Foundry centers. These services will connect you to our provincial virtual services team. When it's time to access your appointment, you can join through the app or web portal. Press Connect, go to view your schedule, click on your scheduled appointment, and follow the instructions. Voila, your session will soon begin. Now that you're all set up, explore the app and book an appointment. Have fun and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Minister, Steve, Sydney, and Christine, for joining us to mark this important day. Thank you for your time and your attention this morning. We will now take your questions.
Thank you, Minister. A reminder to reporters on the line, please press *1 to enter the queue. You are limited to one question and one follow-up. First question will go to April Lawrence, Check News.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for taking my question. Minister, you mentioned Elia Thomas at the beginning of your remarks today. And while, today you're talking about improving access to youth counseling, which is great and I'm sure welcome by many. Elia's family says that she refused counseling even after overdosing 3 times. So I'm wondering what your government is doing to protect children like this that are in high-risk situations, at high risk of death, who refuse help.
Yeah, what a tragic situation for people that work hard in the field to support youth and families in their time of crisis. I'm not going to speak to the specific supports that were accessed in or offered in this particular case. That will come out in due course. But we have the work that we're undertaking as a province to broaden the range of ways that young people can access supports. Just as we know there are many paths into addiction, there are many ways to connect people with services. The announcement that we've made today with Foundry is a great example. Some youth that we certainly heard from through the pandemic that were not willing to walk into a supervised consumption site, into an urgent primary care center, into a hospital, or into counseling, all things that are available for people in crisis. That they, in some cases, were willing to access some of the virtual counseling options that we stood up during the course of the pandemic, and that already youth have been using in this soft launch of the Foundry app, willing to engage with peers and willing to engage in a way that maybe doesn't trigger some of the stigma or shame that we know can be a barrier to accessing services. We are working as hard as we can to build up a system of care that meets people where they are at in their healing journey, where they are at in the province, and their preference of who it is that they want to receive support and treatment and counseling from. Diversity is our goal. That's what's going to get us out of this tragic overdose crisis and mental health crisis, and that's the work that we're funding and that we're determined to implement.
A reminder to reporters on the line, if you wish to ask a question, please press *1. April, do you have a follow-up?
I do, yes, thank you. Two of the things I'm hearing from the health and children experts that I've been speaking with that the government could be doing right now to save lives is both safe supply and some form of involuntary stabilization in just the highest risk situations, such as Bill 22 or a form of it. What are you doing to move forward on those two particular issues?
We're working across the full continuum of response to the overdose crisis. One measure is doubling youth treatment beds across British Columbia. In the interior, they've been announced already, soon to be announced on Vancouver Island. Across BC, 123 new publicly funded youth treatment beds. There's never been such a big expansion in British Columbia. So I want the public to know, and members of the public to know, that there are many approaches to supporting youth with addictions and mental health challenges. And we're working across the whole continuum. Safe supply is something that British Columbia is leading on. There has already been a 400% increase in the number of people that are prescribed safer supply. We expanded the program twice during the course of the early months of the pandemic, and that work continues, and it is funded in our budget. It's the toxicity of the drug supply that has just becomes so much more life-taking, life-ending through the pandemic is something that the work of Safe Supply is continually working to catch up to. And very grateful to everybody working in the front line, addictions medicine doctors and others that are supporting this work in British Columbia on that. On the question of stabilization care, it's still something that we hear from parents and that we believe as a government has a role to play. And I hear from families that say that doing some kind of involuntary admission to hospital after an overdose is something that can save lives, and I believe that too. That's legislation that, as you know, we tested in the legislature last summer. We heard quite strongly from people on the front line that they want to see a broader system of voluntary youth treatment options, so that if we do stabilize youth, that we are absolutely sure that we can connect people to the systems that will support their healing and recovery after that involuntary admission. And that is, those are complex conversations that we'll continue to have while we're taking action on expanding youth mental health supports. And it might be that that Steve Mathias also wants to weigh in on this, because I know we've been having some conversations along those lines as well.
Yeah, thank you, Minister. I will add that I think this is an incredibly nuanced conversation, and I don't know that there's an obvious answer. And I think that it's really important to recognize that on one end of the spectrum are parents who are incredibly concerned about their children, and feel at times left out of the loop in terms of information sharing and understanding the full risk that is in front of them. And at the other end, I think, is the really important consideration for the rights and civil liberties of our teenagers, and understanding that striking a balance between the two is an incredibly difficult process, and requires lots of conversations to get to a place where we can come in with some form of legislation that protects the rights of young people and also supports the care provider and the caregivers to ensure that their young people can get the help when they need help. And so I certainly think that our time right now with fentanyl is an unprecedented one. We've never seen such a lethal substance on our streets. We've never had a drug that can see a young person as young as 12 just pass away in the blink of an eye. And we are, I think, really needing to continue to transform a healthcare system that has, in many ways, just not been set up to address the needs that we have currently with such a crisis.
Thank you. Next question, we go to Amy Smart, Canadian Press.
Hey there, Minister. I'm wondering, we've, over the years of this overdose crisis, we've heard many politicians speak to particular cases and offer condolences. And then there's some frustration about how quickly things move or things like that. I'm wondering, you brought up Ali Thomas's case. Is there a particular lesson that you feel like you've learned from that case that you want to put into policy in the future?
I appreciate the question, and I look forward to learning from this tragic loss. And honestly, for me, it's too early. I want to honor your question, but we don't yet know. I don't know yet enough about what services were offered and where the gap happened. I can say that on every front already we have added more supports, more options for youth accessing the system, trying to meet them where they're at and trying to learn from people, families and youth on the ground about what interface into the mental health and addiction support system would work better for them. The announcement today about Foundry's app, as we heard, 5 years in the making and in the building, is an example of another way for young people to access services. And that we've already built out more youth treatment beds, that we've already added new urgent primary care centers where people can access addictions and mental health on a walk-in basis 7 days a week, and more and more. There's much more for us to do, but we're continuing to build that system, and we'll continue to be informed by the families and peers and young people that for whom the system should be built.
Amy, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, one of the things that the family has raised is just how young she was and how there really wasn't anything appropriate for her. Like, it wouldn't be quite appropriate for her to be with 16-year-olds. What is the plan for those, I know it's a small number, but small number of families that are struggling with this level of a problem, and they don't see a space for their kid?
That it's as young as that there was someone as young as age 12 is shocking. And again, this is a terrible story that just strengthens our commitment as a government to build the kind of addictions and mental health care system that anybody can access. We know young people are struggling with mental health. And we have responded to that with new, for example, investments in eating disorders through our budget, $500 million budget altogether that was announced 2 weeks ago. Eating disorders is a particular area that needs investment and focus, and that's something that our budget does. There is the ability for anybody in any health authority, and I know in this case for Island Health, to waive any age requirements. If anybody needs access to life-saving support, age is not a barrier. And so that is a tool that we know is in place. And as we add, doubling the number of youth treatment beds, we'll certainly be accommodating people of all ages so that they can get the support they need and keep these young people alive.
We have time for one more question. We'll go to Mary Brooks, Island Social Trends.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. So a quick first question is, are there any new services offered through Foundry BC, or is this basically an app that redirects to existing services?
Do you want to speak to that, Steve, from a navigation perspective?
Yeah, thank you. So the question is whether or not there are added resources. So Foundry Virtual was really created out of the crisis that was the pandemic. And so we began our services in April using counseling services that existed in our centers, in our 11 centers, who band together to provide a provincial service. And then with the support of the government in June, we began hiring staff to provide a standalone service. And that service continues to expand and will continue to expand over the next year, so that the added volume that we anticipate seeing with the app will, we hope, be met with an expanded workforce to support the work ahead.
Mary, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, thanks. I'm wondering if this app will be promoted to or recommended to the K-12 education system, to the school districts, because the counseling programs in the school districts appear to be sometimes underfunded and possibly based on traditional models of counseling, not looking outside the box. So where does Foundry BC fit in with the education system?
A week ago, when I stood with Ministers Whiteside and Dean to announce the expansion of integrated child and youth teams to 15 more school districts across British Columbia, was just with a kind of program like this in mind. We're adding the $56 million investment, 350 new full-time community mental health care workers across many disciplines, and it will be their work to identify needs, sometimes informed by school counselors or teachers, but it could be anywhere in the community that we are identifying children in need, the resources that are available, and making that interconnection between resources available in any region, virtually or otherwise, and beyond. And I'm just getting a little note passed to me to say that Steve Matthias can also speak to this question. Thanks again, Steve.
Yeah, and it's a great question. And sorry if you can hear my dog drinking water in the background. I'll add that we already know that for young people ages 12 to 17, accessing our services, school counselors are the second most likely folks to refer them to our services. And so we've been working with the Ministry of Education and the network of school districts around this province to help them learn about Foundry. Foundry is also supported through Children's Hospital, so it's a partnership between Providence Healthcare and Children's Hospital. So there is a fairly large network of folks who are available to promote the work that we do. And certainly the school counselors in this province are aware of Foundry Virtual and our Foundry online resources.
Thank you to our speakers, to the ministers, and to everyone on the line. That concludes the media portion of today's event. I believe we will now be moving to a photograph.
Thank you to the media for your interest. Thank you again so much to the Foundry team for building this new support for young people in British Columbia. We're grateful for your work. And I'm now going to invite my colleague, Minister Dean, to come up and join for a photo.